Hello and welcome to the Cottage Notebook podcast. I'm your host Nadia, and coming up on today's show is a wonderful discussion with Emma from Woolly Mammoth Fibres. So settle in, grab that project, and let's enjoy today's show. First of all, a big hello and welcome. If you're a new listener, come on in and have a nosy around the blog, Ravelry and social media. And for returning listeners, it's lovely to have you all back again and joining in with the show. A huge thank you to everyone who subscribed to either the podcast or the blog in the last 2 weeks. It really does mean a lot to me that you enjoy the things I do with the blog and podcast, and it's lovely to have you all join in and share your whips and projects and what you're working on too. Secondly, this podcast is now supported by a wonderful group of patrons, and a special shout out to both JST Knitwear Designs and Popcorn and Crocodiles for sponsoring today's episode. You can find links to Jen's beautiful knitwear designs and to Emily's gorgeous craft journal in today's show notes. If you would like to support the show, then pop on over to patreon.com/cottage notebook, and depending on the reward tier that you choose, you can have access to private podcasts, a monthly hangout, a month-by-month Grow It Yourself newsletter, and more. In other words, they're just little thank yous from me to all of you for helping me produce this show and blog and all of the content that I create over all of the social media platforms. I'm really thankful to all of you who joined and wanted to support the interviews that I do, and also all of the other written pieces that are in the works too. So thank you very much from me. Now, per some requests, there are some vlogs up on YouTube, on the Cottage Notebook YouTube channel. There will be a link in the show notes. And for some reason, for those of you who want to see what I'm knitting and see my giant whip pile, and for some reason my face, you can pop on over to YouTube and search Cottage Notebook and you can see some vlogs. Be kind, I don't like being in front of the camera too much, but I'm getting kind of used to it. Please leave some comments in under the drop down bar below, so if you want to laugh, giggle, you can come and join me over there too. The audiograms for each of these interviews will also be released on YouTube if that is your social platform of choice. I understand that a lot of you have been asking me to have a presence there because you already enjoy a lot of other podcasters who happen to be there. So I am trying, trust me. Now, this week I got to chat with the wonderful Emma Robinson of Woolly Mammoth Fibres, and Emma is based on the north coast of Northern Ireland, and today she joins us on the show from her studio. I'm saying this now at the beginning so you guys can make a note, you can put it in your journals, you can stick that post-it on a cat. But her next shop update is the 26th of June at 7 p.m. BST, and make sure that you stay tuned until the end of the podcast so that you can find out what's coming up on the Cottage Notebook this summer, and also be in with a chance to win one of Emma's beautiful yarns. Today we chat about Emma's growth. Woolly Mammoth Fibres is not yet 1 year old, and we are looking at starting to where she is now as a business, with collaborations being featured in both Line and Magazine and some other surprising things up her sleeve. So I'm going to hand you over to the interview and welcome Emma to the show. Hello, Emma, and welcome to the Cottage Notebook podcast. And for those listeners who may not know you or your yarn, can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi Nadia, thanks for having me on the show. My name is Emma Robinson, and I'm the creator and maker behind Woolly Mammoth Fibre Company, which is located on the north coast of Ireland. So I create naturally dyed yarns inspired by place and the Irish landscape. And I use forage material, natural dye extracts and kitchen waste to achieve the colours that I feel explore these ideas. When I started Woolly Mammoth Fibre Company, I decided pretty early on that I wanted to use non-superwash yarns and nylon-free yarns, and I suppose that'll always be part of my ethos, and it's definitely one of my unique selling points. So I try and keep the yarn as local as possible where I can. And yeah, woolly wool, natural dyes. That sums me up.
And that leads really nicely into Grace's question from the Patreon account. And her question basically states, I'm really interested in her ethical, plastic free aspect of wool. When did Emma first start thinking about only dyeing natural plastic free bases?
Well, I guess because I started off as a spinner, I was interested in wool. That was kind of my thing. Um, yeah, as a spinner, you come from the kind of more natural side of it because you don't really spin nylon or you don't spin, like plastic fibers when you spin on a spinning wheel. So I guess that's where it started, and that's kind of the tangent how I got to where I'm at now with deciding to keep things plastic free. And like, if there's a small thing that you can do that can make the environment a little bit better, even if it's not a big thing, like, why would you not do it?
And does that ethos extend into your packaging as well, or?
Yeah, so my meal and bags are biodegradable between 6 and 24 months. And then everything else pretty much in the package is paper, so it could be reused or recycled, I guess. There's a few bits and pieces like stickers maybe that couldn't be, but that's about it really.
It's amazing. There's a lot of indie dyers who are changing to support the environment, which I think is great.
It's really good. It's
Yeah.
nice to see.
Um, can you tell us what was the main influence for starting Woolly Mammoth Fibres and where did the name come from? Because it's such an interesting name.
Yeah, it's quite funny. I'd say the main influence for starting Woolly Mammoth was probably the desire to create more with my hands because I have a photography business and that's the first business I started after I left university. And I spent a lot of time on screen editing photos behind a camera, and I just wanted to be able to create something in a more kind of loose experimental way where I could just try things and see what happened. So I had learned to knit and spin and natural dye at university, not on my course though, which was a photography course, not a textiles course. And I just realised about last summer that that was something that I wanted to explore more and learn more about. And yeah, all of a sudden I had all this yarn and it was growing larger and I wasn't really sure what to do with it. So my husband and I had this joke. He's like, "Oh, the woolly mammoth upstairs, it's growing bigger and bigger." And little did he know how big it would become and how much yarn I would eventually have in this house. So yeah, the joke became a business and the name just stuck and it just seemed sort of appropriate. So so then I had my friend Anna Hussey. She was my flatmate when I was at art college. She kind of translated this vision into a logo, which I'm immensely proud of now. She did such a good job. And she, I guess because she knew me, she kind of knew maybe what it would become even better than I did. And the logo is beautifully descriptive of the business and really tells a story of what I do. So, and thanks to you, Nadia, because the first time we met, you were like, "Emma, get a good logo, get it done professionally." And I took that to heart. And yeah, I totally got my aesthetic. I took your advice seriously and it all worked out for the best.
Those random chats at yarn festivals, they're awesome.
So,
Um, I really do think the logo is absolutely awesome. Like, I screamed the first time I saw it. I thought it was great. So, do you think that your creative background then helped you to build your following on Instagram? And can you give us an insight into your creative background as well?
yeah, sure. So I started off at Camberwell College of Art in London, where I was studying photography, as I said before. And it was a really interesting course. it wasn't about like commercial photography or business or about getting clients, or it wasn't about selling yourself or any of that stuff. It was about using photography to explore an idea that sort of interests you. So yeah, so our tutors really encouraged us to think through making. That was like the our our university kind of motto, if you like, think through making. And one tutor of mine in particular told me once, if you don't know what to make, just make something, anything, and your interests will reveal themselves. So just keep making. So one night, a bunch of us were house sitting for this particular tutor who was out of town, and he had a cat and it needed feeding and stuff. So there's like 6 or 7 of us around at his house one night. Yeah, I don't know if he thought we were going to party. He left us like a bottle of wine, but yeah, nothing very exciting happened apart from I noticed he had these massive shelves crammed full with like photographic archive files with contact sheets and negatives in them. So I thought, I'm going to have a look at these and see what's inside. This is like looking inside your tutor's brain, like what's going to be in here. So I started flicking through all these files that were on a shelves. And every so often you'd turn over a page and there'd be a white box around a photograph that he liked. And I thought, this is so interesting for me to look at his work and try and think about why he liked that photo better than the rest. So kind of through little experiences like this and through just, I guess, working at university, I kind of learned a process of making and editing and refining and thinking about why something works and about kind of how to make something better next time you start making things. So yeah, I had a really good group of friends that we met up like every week, and they were all like European and they made the best food, and we just ate and we talked about our work and we critiqued each other's work and we helped each other really to make better things. So this has all been quite influential in developing my creative process. And I guess that kind of stems into everything I do, like Instagram, like the colors and like color combinations and photographs of the wool and everything. I hear all their voices in the back of my mind, like when I make stuff, kind of all these different voices. Maybe that's weird. I don't know.
No, it's brilliant. So, Emma, how has your educational background then helped with establishing woolly mammoth fibres? Because drawing on the photography, moving into your branding, it's incredibly strong.
Oh, thanks, Nadia. Has influenced me specifically as much as actually being in London in a different country when I was like 20, and I was getting to meet people from different places with some with similar interests, some with different interests. Um, I think that has really shaped my creative journey, just in general. I really loved university and my course, but as I would say that I really liked everything that came along with university life in a way as well. So all the experiences that you have, all the museums in London, there's so many like kind of cultural things on, and yeah, like meeting people who are into the same things as you are. There's like all the artist talks and open studios. There was also this crazy like pig's head that hung in a butcher's up Peckham High Street, which continually fascinated me. I mean, it just was crazy. So yeah, so that was kind of art college life, and it was a nice kind of discovery process. It was a nice kind of journey for me, and um, I would say that my education came as much from that as from actually being at university. Um, Another kind of influential experience, well, educational experience, I guess you could call it that, came from one of the girls in the group that we met up with once a week. I went on a kind of long distance cycling tour with her several times. We cycled around Scotland. We went up as far as Paris loops, and then we did a massive loop, and then another summer we cycled from the north to the south of France. And I don't know, I think you learn a lot about yourself and about other people when you go on really long trips like that, about like endurance and kindness and kind of just being with other people and working together. And so I guess all of these little experiences that have happened to me from when I left school have kind of worked together to come to where I am now, I suppose. They all kind of shaped me to this place that I just ended up.
Surrounded by a woolly fibre family. Uh, Woolly Mammoth Fibres is less than a year old, and yet you've managed to establish a following on Instagram and you've been featured in magazines such as Lina. How did this all come about?
Yeah, good question. I guess early on, at the start, I decided I would try and post one good photo a day and take the weekends off. And basically, I just kept doing that. I kind of found my style, and worked. I just kind of thought about what I want to chat to people about. And um, I did this business course, not for woolly mammoth fibers, for the photography. And I had this like business mentor, and she always said, you have to be social on social media. She knew I was a lurker, basically. And she's like, that's what it's for. Go and be social, go and talk to people. I was like, okay. um, and also, at the start, I guess, Melody Hoffman, B. Mandarins, the knitwear designer, told me, don't be scared to show what you're working on. I thought, oh, that's great advice. So I took that to heart as well. And every day I just kind of worked at it a little bit more until I felt more like comfortable doing that. So I had been following Lina magazine for a while, and they were following me. And I got an email one day asking if I would like to have some of my yarn featured in the magazine. So, of course, I said yes. I was absolutely delighted that my favourite knitting magazine would even ask me to be in their lovely publication. So that was a really, really nice kind of moment for me. So, all in all, I think I'd say it kind of came, the Instagram following came by just working at it. There's definitely no magic formula. It's just, yeah, just kind of working at it and having good conversations with people and just making nice things and not being scared to show them to people, I guess.
Because I think your relationship with Instagram is really healthy because you're on it for like a set time during the day and it's not your entire life. It's like, I'm here for this, I'm going to be social for this time, and then I'm going to go off and be me and be my other parts of my business. And a lot of people struggle with that.
Yeah, it's quite a hard thing to get right, because it definitely kind of sucks you in sometimes. Because there's so much going on it, you kind of don't really want to miss out on what's going on there. But yeah, it's took me a while to kind of establish that healthy relationship with Instagram.
For me, it can suck your entire life into it. Um, so I have to ask, because I ask every indie dyer, what has been the hardest thing that you have faced setting up Woolly Mammoth Fibres?
Um, well, I think the hardest thing for me was to create a healthy rhythm of life and not becoming like a slave to my work or to my Instagram feed, and to kind of find freedom in it rather than just kind of being a slave to it. So I'm definitely still working on that all the time. And I feel the irony in myself when I say that because I know it's kind of an unfinished business. But yeah, I think even just simple things like getting enough exercise, I find that difficult. Taking weekends off, like that's difficult. Um, Making offline time a priority, especially at the weekends, I find that difficult. But I know it's good for me, and I know if I don't rest, I won't make good work. So yeah, I think that's probably the hardest thing. And I should listen to my own advice more.
I can see a lot of people in the craft community just nodding along with you as you answered that question. Um, as well as the downside, there are amazing benefits as well. So, what has been the greatest benefit for setting up Woolly Mammoth Fibres?
Probably all those lovely people that gave me all that great advice when I started. That was really, really appreciated. And during my first update, you know, because of Instagram, people were able to find me and buy my products. And I pretty much sold out my first update, which was really surprising to me and really encouraging. It just really encouraged me to keep going. And also, before my first update, there was a few people who know who they are that were very kind and shared that I was having an update and they were loving my stuff and they just shared it with people. And that was really, really helpful and very kind of them. So thank you to those people, I have to say.
I think it's the loveliest, warmest community that I've ever worked in, ever.
Definitely, I agree.
Um, so I have to ask because of your branding and Woolly Mammoth Fibres. The ethos behind Woolly Mammoth Fibres is natural dyes and a slower pace of life. Can you tell us a little bit more about natural dyeing? Is that okay?
Yeah, sure. Uh, well, natural dyeing is couldn't be more different from acid dyeing. It's slower, it's more trouble, the dye's not as fast, it's more expensive. So people probably wonder, like, why would you bother? And I found this quote from a book called The Use of Vegetable Dyes for Beginners by Violetta Thurston. And it was first published in 1930, so it's an old book. And this is what she says about natural dyeing. Why do people do it? And she says, because of the beauty of its results. Those who use them claim that no chemical dye has that luster, that underglow of rich colour, that delicious aromatic smell, that soft light and shadow that gives so much pleasure to the eye. So that's how she sums it up. And I feel like that says kind of why I do it, only she says it much better. So
It's fantastic.
yeah, so it's definitely a slower pace. It's quite meditative, and especially when you're out foraging for, things from the garden, or I'd be up like picking nettles from like my in-laws' paddock or blackberries from my granny's lane up in the farm. Um, there's something about that that kind of helps you to slow down a wee bit and helps you be just kind of fascinated that colour can be created from things that grow around us. And so it kind of gets you to slow down and think about like where these things come from and how they end up with us in a product. So that whole kind of experience slows you down, and it reminds me that creating something isn't about productivity or churning out loads of schemes to be sold. Definitely, I've figured out it's better to make one thing really, really well than loads of average things. So I would say definitely it's that fascination with natural dyeing. It's something that's complicated and something that's not necessarily easily learnt, but that's what keeps me interested in it, because if it was easy, I would probably just do it and then stop. So yeah, I like to feel like I'm always learning something, and that's not a quick thing either. So yeah, the whole thing's just slow, but I'm okay with that.
I think that transpires into the colours as well because they're all so beautiful, but they're also unique as well. Like I really, really loved the kits that you did with LB. I thought they were lovely.
Oh, thanks.
Um, but also, I'm gonna ask because you did mention it before. The first time we met was actually at Yarn Folk, and you were spinning on your beautiful spinning wheel. Can you tell us a little bit about that because I'm dying to know more?
Yeah, sure. So the spinning wheel is called Frank Herring. It was made in Dorset. It kind of looks, how how would you describe it? Like kind of 70s looking. It's made of bent plywood. It's actually out of production now. So I bought it when I was a student on eBay. I didn't have a clue like what I was buying. I just was like, eBay cheap spinning wheel or something like this, and I found this one second hand for like 100 quid, and I was like, oh yeah, amazing, like I can afford this. It's so good and it looks cool as well. So I purchased it not looking at where it was. So when I went to Google Maps to to figure out where the spinning wheel was, it was something like 3 or 4 hours away by train. So anyway, I got on the train to collect this wheel, and I was on the train for ages, and I met the lady at the train station with the wheel. Just did like a really swift transaction, and I took the wheel back on the next train, and it was taking up all this space. And you know, like trains in London are crazy, and people must have thought, this crazy girl like taking her spinning wheel, like what is she like like taking up space on these busy trains. Well, that's what I did anyway, and I got off the train, and then I carried it home over my shoulder, walked up the street. People must have thought I was mad. And yeah, so I had a friend with a spinning wheel, and she taught me how to use it, which was very nice of her. And she actually ended up, she has her own yarn shop now in Bristol, called Alter Knit Universe. So yeah, so thanks to Kim for teaching me.
I just have this image of you with a spinning wheel over your shoulder. It's going to stay with me.
Oh.
Because if those of you who haven't met Emma, she's about the same height I am. So a spinning wheel over her shoulder is wow. That's a magical Instagram moment right there.
Oh.
um, so moving on to woolen, because I did get to meet you there briefly, but I did get to see your yarns and your collaboration projects. Can you tell us about some of those?
Yeah. So at Woolen, I had some kits made up, and Albina McLaughlin of LB Hand Knits had designed a sweater in my yarn in my BFL Massim DK weight. It's called Pale Fire, and it's a beautiful A-line sweater with nice lace panels up both sides, and then going into the raglan. So it's a really nice kind of spring-like sweater, or it would be nice for the summer evenings, or yeah, it's just a really like wearable design. So I had that at Woolen, and I've also recently done a collaboration with Used Wool, which was kind of a dream of mine, and I can't believe they work with me even now. So I feel so privileged that they wanted to work with me. So that was a club that's just gone out actually, but you can probably expect to see more kind of collaborations like that. That's kind of where my heart really lies, working with like small producers and that sort of thing. I also have my new sock yarn, which is actually in production as we speak in Laxton's Mill in Yorkshire. So it's a UK sourced and spun non-superwash nylon-free sock yarn. It has a slightly higher twist than normal yarn, so it will be good. It'll be hard wearing for socks, but still soft enough because it is a blend of BFL and Cheviot. Yeah, so that is launching in October for my 1 year anniversary. So loads of sock kits and loads of stuff that I'm going to do like a mega update for everyone for my 1 year anniversary, so you can all go mad. I also have a new base that I've just launched, which I'm very excited about and can't wait to knit something in myself actually. It's the BFL Gotland, and the Gotland is UK Gotland, which is pretty cool. And so I'm just getting a few things knitted up by my sample knitters at the moment in that base. So I can't wait to give it a wee feel, you know.
Me neither. I'm like sitting here going, I want some of that.
I also have a project coming up in collaboration with Carl Feller, but more details to be confirmed about that near the time. You can keep in touch with us on Instagram, and we'll let you know what it's going to be. And yeah, my yarns, I have a few stockists now since I started, which is really cool. So I'm stocked in the Woolly Thistle, plant dyed yarns. I think there's some stuff in this is knit, Yarnaholic, and yeah, there's going to be more stockists by the end of the year. But because I'm just me, I can only take on so many. So I've now closed the books for this year, and anyone else that inquires will be on a waiting list for 2019. So yeah, so that's pretty cool. And yeah, this month I have an update which is going to be cottage garden flower themed, which is really cool. I'm so excited about it. Can't wait to make new colours for that. It's going to be so fun. So yeah, loads of like bundle dyed yarns, nice warm soft summer colours, going to be some shawl kits, and that update is on the 26th of June at 7 p.m. BST, and I'm sure I'll do another club over the summer if I have time, hopefully. But I am vending at Yarn Folk in August, so that'll probably keep me busy. And yeah, come and visit me there and say hello.
I'm hoping to get to Yarn Folk, so I'm hoping to see you again soon in person. Please tell everyone where they can find you online and all your details, all that jazz.
Yeah, you can find me at woolymammothfibrecompany.com, fibre spelt Fibre, the UK way, or on Instagram at woolymammothfibres.
Thank you so much for joining me on the show today. And if you want to hear more from Emma, of course, you can find her on the Instagram that she said at Woolly Mammoth Fibres. And you can also find links to everything that we have been chatting today in the show notes. Thank you so much for joining me, Emma.
Thank you, Nadia. Thanks for having me.
Hello and welcome back, and I really hope you enjoyed today's interview with Emma. And what I want you to do right now is to pop over to iTunes and leave a review, and if you don't have iTunes, then pop over to the blog and let me know what you thought of this week's episode. If you would like to win one of Emma's skeins of yarn as promised, then what we would like you to do is pop over to my Ravelry group and leave a comment under Emma's episode in the group thread telling me what you love most about Woolly Mammoth Fibre Company yarn. Now, I'm not taking any comments from the blog. If you want to be entered in the giveaway, then you need to pop over to Ravelry, into the Ravelry group, and comment under Emma's episode. Now, this is the part of the episode that I normally say, hey, I'll see you next week. But in fact, I will see you on Wednesday. The next audio podcast is being released on Wednesday because it is somewhat time sensitive, and it is with the I want to say rock star of knitting herself, Countess Blaze, and we are focusing on the Tits Out Collective. So please remember to make a note and we will see you on Wednesday. So for now, I will be back with another episode then. I'm your host Nadia, and from the Cottage Notebook, grow, craft, love. Bye bye.